What's happening, people? It's your girl, Nye, and welcome to the Tears and Laughter podcast. The podcast designed to make you laugh or cry or a little bit of both, but effectively to have a great time. I'm your host, Nye, and I am super excited to be here live in the Heaven Talk studios. As you can see, I've changed the setup again after episode 6, which I know you all loved. And the reason I have done that is because of the special guest I have today. Now, it would be an understatement if I didn't tell you, you do not want to miss this episode. I have an amazing special guest. And as you can see by the pink girly background that we've gone for today, it's because my special guest is giving girly. It's giving pink love. It's giving intimate, flirtatious. Yes, I'm making up words. But before I introduce who I've got next to me right now, make sure you are following us on all social media at Tears and Laughter Podcast. Make sure you catch up on every single episode if you haven't so far. We are live and streaming from Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and visuals on YouTube. So you really can find us everywhere. Catch up today so that you don't miss out on any updates. Right, let's get into it. Welcome back, people. It's your girl, Nye, and I am super excited. Now, before I introduce who is right next to me, if you haven't already, okay, if you have not watched Married at First Sight UK, make sure you get on all 4, streaming 4, channel 4, whatever access channel 4 you can, and watch it and check it out, okay? Because it is the program of the century. I've not said that, that's been quoted in the press. But if you have watched it, if you're upstate and you have watched it, then you're going to be very familiar with this amazing lady I have to the right of me. She's a sex expert. She's a relationships expert. She is on the panel of Married at First Sight UK. It's Charlene Douglas.
I absolutely love that introduction.
Like
I'm literally going to copy that.
Really?
That's on point.
That's all yours. You have
Thank
it.
you.
Honestly, I had to rehearse that because it needed to be perfection. Do you know why? Because I am over the moon to have you here. You don't even understand. Okay. We have television royalty, and that's what I'm going to say. Because for a lot of us growing up, we don't see people who look like us on programs like what you're on. I'm just going to say that straight.
That's true. That's very true.
So this is why for us, for people who look like me, people who look like you are royalty. You're television royalty, and you're on one of the biggest programs in the country.
Yes. Yeah, it's huge.
It's very big. It's very big. So thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to have you here because we're going to be talking all things sex, relationship, and we have so much more to look forward to because Charlene is also going to be giving advice, some killer expert advice as well. So Charlene, welcome to the Tears and Laughter podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I am very excited to be here. Like, the sun's out. You set
your guns are out.
Like, it's all
your buns are out. My buns are out.
Everything's out. And I feel like I love this environment. I feel like it's the perfect environment to talk about sex.
We had to go with the girly kind of flirty vibe. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
I
feel at home.
Yeah. Like, it's Saturday night. I mean, the makeup would usually be off for being our do-rags. We got the wine or the rosé. I mean, what do you go for? What's your go-to on a Saturday night?
I mean, I actually like most alcohol, so... so rosé, red, white, or Baileys.
Oh, a Baileys.
Yeah, Baileys is the drink. Someone was telling me about Baileys with some Ray and nephew in there. I mean, that's a bit of a killer.
Ray and his mother's son.
But you could,
No way.
Yeah.
In a Baileys.
Yeah, it's a bit Baileys, but you're not supposed to put too much Ray and nephew in there because that could like send you to Mars. but that is the drink.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you tried it?
I have.
Okay, what does it taste like?
It is amazing.
Really?
Sends you to Mars though.
Yeah, really. Yeah. But does it not make you a bit like sicky with the creaminess of the Baileys and the strong spirit that licks your throat back?
That's because you're not a veteran like me when it comes to these kind of things.
I am there. What are we naming this concoction? This Bailey Ray and nephew?
I don't know.
The Charlene special?
Sexy B.
Sexy B.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Call
it.
it Sexy B.
I like it. I like it. Well, that is the vibe we're going for today, isn't it? It's girl talk tonight. It's girl talk time.
Yeah.
So before we get into who you are, because I want to learn all about you and we want to talk all things math. And of course, we're going to get into some freaky, deaky sex stuff. But before we do that, one thing that we do on this podcast is we always talk about two things or one or two things that went well this week and then one or two things that didn't go as well this week. So with that being said, what's one thing that's gone well this week or two if you haven't? And what's one thing that hasn't gone well this week or two?
Okay, so I think the one thing that's gone really well this week is, so I looked after my niece who is like 21 months old, and she slept throughout the whole night when she stayed over at my house. And I think it's because I have a bit of a routine with her.
Okay.
So she's like, okay, bedtime. And it worked. And she went to bed. So that was really good.
Slept through the night?
Slept through the night as well.
Really?
Yeah. And then woke up about 6 a.m. saying, Cocomelon.
Oh, Cocomelon.
Or Cocomemon, as she calls it.
Oh, is she your first niece?
She is.
Oh, so that's like even that more kind of like special. Do you have any other nieces?
No. Yeah, so she's very spoiled.
Princess. Oh,
yeah, we love her a lot.
I love it. Do you enjoy babysitting?
I do. It's really, I mean, it's always nice to have a baby around and then to be able to give the baby back. That's always a nice thing.
Honestly, that is what I love about being an aunt, because I feel like I popped into like being an aunt in my later years of life. Yeah. And then it was like, I love having them around. I've got quite a few nieces, nephews, but I love having them around. But it's made me realize children are a lot.
Yeah.
They are a lot.
That's the word.
Like, you can have them for a few hours and you're needing a long nap in the evening.
It's tiring, but it's really rewarding as well. Like seeing like how joyful they are.
Yeah.
How much they love you, how affectionate they are. I feel like they teach us about life or what life should be.
Really?
So, yeah, most definitely. Well, I feel like with her name's Maya, my little niece. What's really beautiful about her is that she just seeks joy and seeks fun things, you know. So you put a little bit of soca music on, she's like dancing around. She loves soca.
How does she know about the soca?
Oh yeah, she's got the rhythm and everything. Like she knows when it goes slow, she slows it down. And when it's fast, she's like,
not the quality control.
Mate, she knows. She's not even 2 yet.
And who's she getting that from then?
Probably my sister and her partner, so her mum and dad. Because her dad's from Dominica and we're from St. Vincent.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, you know, you're born whining out the womb.
Yeah.
It's like the soca vibe.
That's amazing. I didn't know you was from St. Vincent.
Yeah, so my parents are from St. Vincent. And yeah, I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
It like?
Oh, gorgeous.
I feel like, you know, think of Caribbean, obviously people just assume it's just the Jamaica, the Trinity, the big names, but it's like I want to know more about these other islands in the Caribbean.
There are so many beautiful, I mean there's so many hidden gems in St. Vincent. I feel like it's one of those kind of like unspoiled, untouched, like paradise places, like not many people know about it, but you know, it's the white sand, the turquoise sea, music, no one stresses there other than like the British people when they go there. Yeah, you know.
Why do they stress?
Well, yeah, I remember being on like, you know, their vans are kind of like our buses, right? So they have these vans and it's like the vans, they're vibing, right? So we're talking music, soca music. Whilst the driver's got a beer in the hand and speeding, you know, and everyone's like, you know, over all the bumps and having a good old time. And then one time I was like, excuse me, like proper English accent, excuse me, sorry, can you just slow down? Just slow down. It's just dangerous. And I could hear myself sounding so English. It's dangerous. And they were like, oh man, you're too English. And they'll continue like to ride down the road. So yeah.
What is it with Caribbean people? They just don't care.
They just love life.
They just love life.
Yeah. I'm stressing and they're not.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. What is the food like in St. Vincent? They're like, what is the signature? If you're going back home to mum and dad's or nanny and grandpa's, what is on the kitchen table?
I think it's pretty much the same across the board in the Caribbean. So it's the rice and peas, it's like the stew chicken.
What sort of peas though? Because you know, I feel like each island has a differentiation in what pea they use.
We have both. So we have the black-eyed peas.
Oh, I hate them.
Yeah, not so often though. And then like the kind of kidney beans, kind of that kind of gungo beans, isn't it? They call them. I can't remember. I feel like you're testing my Caribbean now. I'm just like, what? I'm like the brown ones, the brown beans.
The black-eyed peas.
Black-eyed peas.
Black-eyed peas.
Sounds so English.
No. I said, I'm not going to
yeah, that's it.
I have scars from them. No.
Really?
No, because I grew up in a household they cooked them every weekend and I could not leave the table until they were done. Yeah, it was either that or a belt on the hand. So priorities.
Yeah.
So tell me about something that's not been as great this week, if you have it, or if you've just had an amazing week. Great.
Yeah, I think this week's been quite a good week. I think obviously, you know, Married at First Sight's coming back, and you know, there's lots of hype around that. So that's really exciting. So yeah, I think the week's been quite good actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
We love good weeks. Definitely. So let's talk about Married at First Sight.
Let's talk about Married at First Sight.
Because that's obviously what you're mostly known for. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say that.
To make?
Yeah, in terms of the reason that people know me, publicly, yeah.
And it's because of how good the show is, but it's also because I think, this is my opinion, the impact that you bring to the show, the mood you bring to the show, the vibe show. Have you Googled yourself?
No.
No, I don't recommend it because you never know, trolls. But the comments that people say about you, as the good comments, is you bring this different energy. I mean, you all do. But let's scrape it back a little bit then. How did Charlene end up on Married at First Sight?
So I started on E4's The Sex Clinic initially, back in the day. And once you work with Channel 4 and they're happy with the work that you do, it's often kind of easier to kind of get into other roles. And yeah, one day I received a phone call and they were like, they didn't tell me what the show was though. They just said that there's a show we'd like you to be a part of. We'd like to interview you, ask you a few questions, see what your thoughts are. They asked you questions about sex and relationships, and that's what I talk about every day. So I was like, this is going to be for me. This is going to work. Yeah, straight away. And yeah, I think it went from there. They liked what they saw, and the rest is history. And then Paul and Mel were already in place. So it was a case of sort of joining them, which I did feel a bit nervous about, because I'd gone onto Google and I saw that Mel was on the Australian version and Paul, I think at the time Paul was on Celebs Go Dating, and he still is. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, will we all gel together? Will it be okay? And it's brilliant.
So you didn't know Paul and Mel before you got the job?
No.
Tell me about where you was, if you can recall, when you got that call of, Charlene, you got the job.
Yeah, I literally, I tried to play it down. I was like, okay, thank you. No, thanks so much for interviewing me. That's great. And I came off the phone. I just screamed in the house. And I rang my sister and my parents. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is just, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then I thought, now I've got to actually do this. So, it's like when you kind of have an interview and you say, I can do this and I can do this and I can swing from the chandeliers and I can do that. And then it's time to actually do it. You're like, can I do that though? Yeah. But you know what? It was fine. Everyone welcomed me. Everyone's really lovely. So yeah, it worked out well.
And what was that initial meeting with Paul and Mel like? What was that like?
It was like we had been friends forever. So we met on Zoom in the first instance.
Was it in pandemic times?
Yes, it was. Yeah, so we met, and that's why we met on Zoom. We were just chatting and we were laughing, and we do the same things for a living, right? In terms of like sex and relationships and intimacy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I probably kind of do more of the kind of sex and intimacy stuff than Paul and Mel, but yeah, in terms of all the relationship stuff, we do the same thing. So we were just on the same page, and I think what's so lovely is that obviously Paul's from America and Mel is Australian, so just the different cultural differences. But of course, Paul and I are both, we have Caribbean backgrounds.
Yeah.
Mel and I are female, so it's just you just connect in so many different ways. So it was
points of
it's just gelled and it's worked really well.
And big you up for being the one that's representing the Brits on here, us British people on the show. Because were you a viewer of the show before?
Yeah, so I'd seen like the odd bit. I hadn't watched it in any great detail, and then I was told that I was going to be on the show. They were like, oh, maybe you should watch it just so you can kind of get an idea of how it works. And then I watched the Australian one. I was like, this is great. Like I was hooked, like literally like binge watching 2 a.m. like thinking I can watch another one. I can watch another. It's like 3 a.m.
Yeah. And MAFS will do that to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been hooked into it. I can't lie. That was me. You get to one episode and then it's like episode 8 and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. It's like 3 a.m. or something on a weeknight.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And can we just talk about MAFS Australia for a hot just segue second? Because I have not watched the whole season religiously, but the one I did come across tonight was the one with, I think her name was Elizabeth, the blonde girl.
Okay.
And the guy was saying that she's too fat or something like that.
Yes. So I think you watched the same season that I watched. So I've not really watched any others since then. I've just been ridiculously busy.
Yeah.
But that was a season that I watched.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa. Like, I remember thinking, like, do people like that actually exist that say things like that can put a woman down like that?
Yeah.
And yeah, they do. Yeah.
It's crazy. So fast forward now, you've got the call, you've officially got the job.
Yes.
Massive, like so incredible. What season was it, the first season that you were on?
So
you've been on a few, of course.
Yeah, so this is what's tricky. So Married at First Sight was on before I came on board, but it was like an older format.
Yeah.
So the format was, I know some people say the old format was boring. I don't say that.
Ew.
And Paul was on the older format. So I feel like if anyone says that if Paul's around, he'll be like, It wasn't boring.
What
It was
you
just
talking about?
different. It was just a
Yeah.
bit different.
Right.
So this current format is kind of similar to the Australian format. So you've got lots of sort of explosive moments. There's a lot more drama.
Right.
So in terms of seasons, I think I've seen season 19 somewhere, which I
Okay.
think because they've taken into consideration the other seasons.
Right. Okay.
But I've also seen season 4, which is kind of I've been in it for 4 years. So
okay.
let's say season
So
4.
we'll say season 4
Yeah.
then, of like the new brand.
Yes.
The new brand season 4.
Yeah, that's right.
Was when you made your first
Yes. Debut.
debut. Do you remember the first day you shot? You were on set.
Oh gosh, I do. I think the bit that stands out to me is the commitment ceremony more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because that's when we sort of see the couples together after they've been on the honeymoon. And obviously we've seen them at a dinner party, but we actually then see them in front of us.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is quite different from being a couples therapist, like in my own private practice. There's the questions that I ask are different. So, I can't ask about, tell me more about your mum. Tell me, we're not going into that detail at that point.
Like
So
upbringing and things like
not
that.
in that kind of setting. So
Why is that you can't kind of touch into that?
because that's kind of been addressed earlier on.
Right, okay.
So at that point, what we're looking at is more, we're trying to look at what's happening here and how can we move forward.
Right.
So it's a different type of therapy, as it were.
Right.
And also it's, I've got 2 other experts as well. They're also asking questions. So the setup is just very different. And also we do have to be careful, in terms of how deep we go, because I don't want to break people.
Yeah.
And it is a TV show. So I also have to take that into consideration.
And that's a really interesting point, actually, because how do you kind of differentiate it from, because at the end of the day, it's a television show.
Yeah.
It's entertainment for people, and you are basically trying to help them navigate through this very unorthodox marriage in that way. How do you differentiate from doing your role as this therapist and being fully throttle and, really getting to the crust of things, to remembering that it would be a client in your office, for example, that this is a show and you are filming?
Yeah, I think the longer you do shows like this, the more you kind of just become used to the setup being different in terms of what you ask, what you don't ask. Ultimately, we want the couple to work out. We want them to work through their issues. And so it's not helpful in those moments for me to dig deeper into one person and to sort of, look at their past relationship and tell me more about that. That's not the setting for it, because we've kind of done that earlier on anyway. So what we're looking at here is what are some of the relationship dynamics that you're kind of carrying maybe from old relationships that you're bringing into this relationship? And are you open to doing things a bit differently? Are you open to communicating in a more healthier way? Are you open to managing conflict in a better way? So that's what we're working with. And for a lot of them, they are open, and for some, there's a little bit more work to do.
The new season coming up.
Yeah.
I know you can't tell me too much, unfortunately.
No.
But what are we literally in for? What do we need to let ourselves in for with
Wow, where do I start? I feel like I want to say to you guys, look out for the dinner parties.
Oh.
Because they do not disappoint.
Really?
They do not disappoint. And there's some interesting, shocking moments.
Right.
It's
a proper shock factor. We've already seen some of these shocking moments just of the little promos that have come out so far. And one of them I want to ask you about. I know you can't go into too much detail, but what is the whole situation with the guy and the false teeth? Because
Kieran.
what is that?
Yeah.
He really has made a presence, but I'm just when you saw that, what was your reaction? I know we'll probably see it, but
I feel like
I hope we see
I'm
it.
really not allowed to say that much about it. I think what I can say is that I was shocked.
Right.
And I think it says a lot about his character. He's quite a humorous guy. So I think you'll see
A lot
fun
more.
character that comes out. He's lovely. He's a really nice guy.
Okay.
And his wife who you saw. I'm not sure how much you've seen. So I think, his wife.
So we've seen the wife. Yeah, we've seen her come up. We've not seen much come out. So I know that that's one of the clips that's circulating about it.
Yeah.
And then just a couple intros. I do want to ask, this is just a point that has come up and I wonder if you've seen it, but a lot of the commentary that has been out so far about the trailer is a lot of people feeling like there's a lack of diversity within the cast.
Really?
Yeah. Specifically from a female perspective, they're saying compared to last season.
Yeah.
What do you think? Have you seen that?
Diversity in terms of what do
I
they
think
think is missing?
race. I've seen a lot of comments on the clips on the social medias.
Yeah.
I know you shouldn't read comments, but a lot of the conversations having is that there's not much diversity this time around.
Okay. So I haven't seen those comments. I think we do our best to make sure we represent lots of different people,
Yeah.
not just in terms of race, but in terms of
Sexuality
age, disability,
as well.
sexuality. And I think that Married at First Sight is probably one of the only shows or series where you actually get a real representation of the UK.
Yeah.
What I will say though is that I think that if we want to see more black people on Married at First Sight, more black people need to apply.
Well, this is why I'm bringing it up, because this is actually why I am bringing it up, because I've had conversations before with other people in the industry and just other industries where they say, you know, we want more people of color and stuff, but they don't apply or they don't.
Well,
and that's why I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be a factor as well? It's like a lot of other races just don't apply for the show.
Think that, you know, there's a lot that goes into matching people.
Yeah.
So I'm not just saying that if you're black, that straight away you're going to be on Married at First Sight.
No.
And
it shouldn't just be obviously
about
because
race
you're black.
either.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I think that it would be nice to see more black people apply to be on Married at First Sight.
Yeah. Why do you
and
think a lot of black people don't?
I feel like as a culture, we have been taught to be quite private.
Yeah.
We don't sort of put our business out there. Like,
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
like the older generation, when I think about like my parents and grandparents,
Yeah.
it's like, shh, come inside, close the door, don't tell people your business.
Yeah.
And there's sort of pros and cons with that, isn't there? So yes, it's like you keep your business private, great. But if you need help, like no one knows, or if you want to find a partner, no one knows you're looking, because you're not going to go on a show like this, or you're not going to go on online dating or whatever it may be. So I think maybe a cultural thing there might play a part.
Basically, you need to be applying. If you want to see yourself on there, you got to be applying.
Yeah.
I think that's what I meant to say.
And also to say there are quite a few black people that come up to me and that say, I'd really like to be on it. Like, do you think I should apply? And I'm like, yeah, apply.
Yeah.
But they're so worried about applying. I'm like, but we're saying we want to see more people of colour. You've got to send your application in. And I'm not saying 100% that you'll be on it, but we need more people of colour to apply.
What type of person do you think should apply for a show like this? Like who? Because obviously there's a lot of us, like I'm single, but I just feel like I don't think I would do well on that show because I'm such a control freak that I need to know. I couldn't just have someone, you know, some randomer, because they really don't know who's coming down the aisle, do they?
No.
See, no, my anxiety could never. What sort of person is this show made for?
I think someone who has exhausted the dating world in terms of online apps, put themselves out there and just feel like, is there something I'm doing wrong, or is there something I could do better? Obviously it's TV, so, you know, someone with a banging personality like yourself, you know. So, because, you know, people want to watch, you know, people that are entertaining and are interesting to watch and got an interesting kind of backstory. So I think if you've got an interesting story, if you've had a bit of a journey with relationships, then I think Married at First Sight would be great to be a part of.
You hear that? Said it from the expert herself. My last thing about the new season, because I know you can't say too much, but are we in for some very intense, emotional, like, are these couples going to make us cry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to get angry at them. I think it's going to make people reflect on their own relationships.
Okay. And what's the freak factor like? Because, you know, for some of us, it's all about their freak.
We've definitely got that there. 100%. We've got some of those moments in there, definitely. I think, do you know what? I think you're going to enjoy this year. I really do. I wish I could just say so much more. What I will say, the personalities this year, there's some really big personalities in there.
Okay.
And a lot of the people on the show are people that haven't been on TV before, so that brings something different.
Yeah. No influencers then, or
no?
Okay.
No, as far as I know, no one's really been on TV, so they're just there to find love, but they come with their personality.
Oh wow, and I'm excited for that. Speaking of, let's talk about the last season, because that's the season I jumped in on and I found myself hooked.
Yes.
Absolutely hooked. I think definitely some large characters, to say the least, especially with the likes of Ella. Tasha, I thought was quite a big character. Arthur, surprisingly, not a big character, but definitely had quite a big presence.
Yes, lots of personality.
Lots of personality. What was it like filming the last season, first of all?
So I have to say, like, for every season, I love the couples. I love them all. Like, they are so much fun.
Really?
Do you know what I really... I do. Do you know what is funny? I feel like the question that I get asked the most is like, what couple did you like not really get on with? Or was there one person that you just thought, oh, they're not for you? And I just think, you know what, there's good in everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that everyone on the show will be people that will be like my best friend.
Yeah.
But I can see good in them all. Yeah. And I think their intentions were pure.
Really? Everyone?
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm like really tired is because obviously when you watch the season back after you film, yeah? Is there like, I know obviously you have production and editing, so we do get that, of course. We do understand how it can be snipped. But some of them did come across like they were just there for like a game plan. Like at first, initially, I thought George was the case.
Oh, okay.
With him and Peggy. I thought he's a streamer. It didn't seem he was as into her until he saw that people liked them together.
Oh, okay.
But obviously I'm a viewer. Do you ever see like the kind of true sides of these guys?
Yeah.
And is there anyone, you don't need to name and shame, but is there at any point when you're filming that you do think, yeah, I don't know what your intentions are here, matey? Matey.
Do you know what? I think that everyone comes into it in the hope that they will find love. You know, we know that from the first season we had Adam and Taya.
Yeah.
They've now got a baby. And so that is the dream, isn't it? Like they got on straight away.
That's a success story.
Lovely success story. And then they've got a little baby as well. Then we've had Zoe and Jenna I think they were there 2022, I think that was. So Zoe and Jenna are still together. Just got officially engaged as well.
Oh, wow.
So I do feel like people come on the show in the hope that will be their story. Now, of course, I would imagine that if you get to a stage where you're realizing that actually this isn't really working, would you maybe kind of hold on for a little bit for airtime? I don't know. I probably would. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that any of them have done that, but you know, if you're in it, you're probably thinking, okay, let's sort of ride it out. But I think when I think about the couples, what I see are couples that are willing to do the work to try and make it work.
Okay.
Even when it's difficult. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if they've had an explosive argument and in the real world they would have walked out, I feel like there's a part of them that's like, no, I'm in this. I'm going to stick with this. And that's what I rate them for.
Well, I feel like we could definitely give that hat to Priscilla. Not Priscilla, sorry. What was her name? We could definitely give that hat to Portia. Portia. I think, I forgot her name. Who's Priscilla again?
I was like, who's Priscilla? I was like, did I miss something? Did I miss somebody? Priscilla?
I'm getting a mix of violent. I could pass that hat to Portia because I feel like the last season, Portia, I feel like was really trying to make things work with Terrence.
Yes.
And obviously he just tapped out from day one. Do you feel like... I feel like he was tapped out from day one.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I generally, obviously you see them better than I do, but from what I saw, I felt like Terrence was, you don't agree?
No, it's interesting because I feel like with Portia and Terrence,
I
feel like they both were really trying like over the weeks.
Okay.
And I think that there were definitely moments that either one of them could have just walked away. And I could see how difficult it was for them to still stay, but they were still trying to work with the process. I think towards the end, though, Terrence just got to a stage where he was like, no, I don't want to do this. This is just too much for me. And, you know, he's got kids at home. He's like, I just want to go back to my kids now. This is just not for me. And it was heartbreaking because you could see that Portia was really upset.
She was.
You know,
and I'm not going to lie, watching them two specifically, I was really surprised that like she tried to like stay for so long because I think initially she was very much like the dominant one. Like, I don't really like a man. My standards are so high and this and that. And I was like, yeah, girl.
Hey.
Yeah, I love that for you.
Yes.
And then Terrence kind of broke those walls down a little. But I felt like it was just like, she just shocked me the most. I feel like with the dynamic that you see, like when it comes to things like the commitment ceremonies and stuff like that, do you feel like a lot more times than others, a lot of the couples are feeling the most kind of vulnerable, nervous and anxious at these times, which reflects their decisions?
I think so. I think also, you know, you hit a really good point there about Portia kind of really wanting this. I think, you know, when you really want a relationship, you kind of are anxious. You do sometimes make mistakes. You do sometimes overreact, or maybe you might be irrational because you want it to work. And I think that that's what we saw with Portia and some of the other couples as well. Like, they want it to work.
I have to give a medal to Laura and Arthur. I'm not going to lie. Because honestly, I feel like they were so different. I give my hat off to Laura. I think she was very committed.
Yes. Does that mean you don't think Arthur was?
No, but Arthur to me was just a clown. I can say these opinions. I don't work on the show. But I feel like Arthur was just a bit of a lads class clown. He wasn't taking it very serious, was here for a good time, not a long time. I do think he did like Laura. I do. It just surprised me. But also I do get like he was bringing out that fun, bubbly side to her, which is good because she is quite rigid. So it was nice to see that balance. But I was just surprised at how she was still going for it when I feel like Laura's one that would just tap out, especially because she had been divorced before.
She had, yes.
When you met them both as a couple, what was your initial thoughts?
I thought that they could balance each other out quite well.
Okay.
Because I think what my thought was that, so Arthur is a bit more jovial, but Laura has that side as well.
Oh, okay. We didn't see it.
Really?
No. Well, I didn't see it.
Night is throwing the shade today.
No, but I didn't see that side of her. I didn't know.
She definitely has that side as well. So I felt like...
I love that for you.
Yeah, I felt like...
I do.
So I felt like Arthur brings that jovial side for Laura, and Laura kind of helps like Arthur to kind of like be serious sometimes, you know, and kind of think about things.
Like be a bit adult.
Yeah, and kind of like, you know, let's take this seriously, let's think this through sort of thing. But together they had some really great physical chemistry. So at the commitment ceremony, they were always sort of sat quite close to each other, or, you know, I felt like they were in it together. I felt they were a really good couple. So I was sad that they didn't work out. I really was, but I know you're not convinced. You're not convinced that they were so good together.
No, I didn't. When you're filming, it's just so interesting to kind of see that you're so like in front and center, because all the drama that comes out from it.
Yeah.
Are you, Mel and Paul, just also sat there with your popcorn like, oh my God, like what is going on right now? Because obviously we see that you observe them at the dinners and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, do you ever expect it to kick off as much as it does in some of these episodes?
I mean, sometimes I can feel it brewing.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the atmosphere like?
So I'd say, normally you can see it brewing at a dinner party.
Okay.
So you can kind of feel the energy, you can see the face expressions, or sometimes people like frowning or rolling up their eyes.
I think Tasha needs to win an award for the facial expressions, because we could really, especially between her and Erica, it was just,
and they're friends now.
That's good.
So after all of that, they're good friends. But yeah, I think you can feel the energy bubbling up in the dinner parties, and then when they come to see us at the commitment ceremony, sometimes they start really mature and really like, you think, okay, we're having a really healthy conversation here, and you know, you're letting each other speak, and then something is said and it's just like, whoa. And then sometimes Paul, Mel and I are like,
did that really?
Yeah.
Can you think of a moment where that's happened?
I mean, there's probably quite a few. There was definitely the Portia and Terence moment. I mean, that was definitely a moment where I was just like,
the dares, right?
Well, yeah. And of course it's edited, so some more stuff happened in some of these couples where not everything is shown. Yes. Not everything is shown, let's just say. But
when it comes to the sit-down ceremonies as well, what is the time frame? Because obviously we don't know how long these couples have been together, as to what is the time frame?
The commitment ceremony.
Yeah.
So they'll have like the dinner party like on one day, and then the next day they'll come to see us at the commitment ceremony.
Yeah, so the dinner party is the day before, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do they do that every week?
Yes.
Okay, so the couples would have been together for the whole week and then go and have dinner?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, so it's a weekly thing.
Right. So in that week they have done maybe like an activity together.
Right.
Often lots of arguments happen. Yeah. So lots of stuff would have gone on there. And then that's why when they all come together at the dinner party, that's where it normally kicks off, because people are like, let's talk about this, and people are getting involved, and it could become a bit of a drama filled space, let's say. And then what you usually get is them then saying, well, let's wait to speak to the experts tomorrow, and then we get it.
I was going to say, and what's that like when you come in to film and it's just like a lot of issues? Is that a good thing for you guys as the experts?
Yeah.
Like, are you like, right, some work to do?
Yeah. I mean, I can only talk for myself, but for me, I feel like, you know, when the couples come in and there's been some sort of drama, I'm interested to get to the root of what is going on here. Like, you know, like, and to give them both an opportunity to actually speak and to be heard, because I think it's through those moments that you see real growth in a relationship, and also you can see whether a relationship has any strength or any sort of foundation. You know, like if a relationship can survive those types of arguments, then you know you're in for a winner.
Let's hope so. One of the things is when it comes to the advice that you're giving, because you're dealing with people, a lot of different characters, a lot of different personalities. Yeah. Let's use Ella and Nathaniel, for example, because they needed a bit of coaching, we'll say.
A bit of coaching.
Yeah. And with them two, because they had such a connection and then a disconnection, was there ever a time where you were giving them the advice and you felt like they weren't receiving it? And also, have you ever been in a situation where you've had like pushback, and how do you handle that?
Good question. So with Ella and Nathaniel, they were very open to the feedback, I have to say. I think that there were times that they were hurt. Maybe one person had hurt the other person, and it at times felt difficult for them to move forward. But I think what I respect about both of them was that even though it got difficult, when they were sat in front of us at the commitment ceremony, they were always very respectful of us, always. And they were willing to try. They were really willing to try, and ultimately it didn't work out. The thing is, couples could be willing to try during the commitment ceremony.
Yeah.
And then things are all pleasant and smooth and kind and nice. And then once they say goodbye and they're like, thanks, Paul, Mel, Charlene, thank you. You guys have been so helpful. Like, we're going to have a great week.
Yeah.
And then once we're not there, then sometimes something just kicks off again. You're like, but did you listen to what we were saying about speaking, listening to each other? When you feel like it's getting too much, like walking away and then deciding when you're going to come back, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like they sometimes forget some of that.
Do you have an eye roll moment sometimes, like you're talking to like your niece, for example, because it's like, we gave you guys this advice.
Yeah.
Why are you not listening?
No, I mean, we're human, right? I'm not saying that there's never a time where I feel like, oh, for goodness sake.
Guys,
yeah. But I think like ultimately, like we just really want the couples to work out.
Yeah.
We really want them to work. And I think for so many of them, that's their dream too. But then some of them get to a point where they're like, I'm done. And then it's kind of hard to work with that if they've kind of checked out.
Yeah, I have to say that it's so fascinating to kind of see like the dynamics of how it operates, and even like some of the kind of tag team, because I feel like last season were very explosive for a variation of different reasons, but I feel like there was a lot of like swapping of partners when we had obviously Ella and JJ.
Yes.
From Bianca and JJ. Now I have to categorically say I felt so sorry for Bianca.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Yeah. Oh, is she okay?
Yeah, she's doing fantastically. I mean, I say that based on Instagram. I don't if Instagram's anything to go by, but she seems to be doing really, really well.
I have to give her clues. I mean, what did you think of that whole situation? Because like I never initially saw a flirty vibe between Ella and JJ at first at all. No, I didn't see it at all.
It's one of those stories that was just really complex, and I think I definitely felt sorry for Bianca.
Yeah.
I feel like she was one of the victims in all of this, because I don't feel like I saw enough from JJ in terms of, really working on the relationship. I could be wrong. I'm saying it just based on what I saw.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen him do a little bit more to try and make the relationship work.
Yeah.
But you know what? It didn't. And he then decided to engage in this. Ella. Yeah. And, it was hard because it goes against the whole process and all the work that we've put in and all the hard work that everyone else has put in to try and make their relationship work. Otherwise everyone could just say like, I've had enough with my partner, I'm going to go elsewhere. But you know what? It's also hard. I think when people are looking for love, sometimes you do things that's probably not the best. And I think everyone's learned from it and forgiven everyone and moved on now. But
I want to ask, and this is me kind of tapping into a bit of your expertise now, because I feel like JJ said that he came on the show because he wanted to find something different from what he usually went in terms of looks.
Yes.
He wanted to find someone different from his type.
Yeah.
But then he ended up with Ella.
Yeah.
Who was similar to his old type. And like Bianca said, why say that you wanted to try something different when evidently you didn't? Why do you guys do that?
So, but you know what I would say? I feel like we all do that.
Okay.
Right? Because so many of us will say, okay, when I choose a new partner, I'm going to make sure that they're different from anyone else that I've ever been with in the past. But what we often find is that we kind of gravitate towards what we find attractive or what we've always found attractive. And so I don't feel like JJ did anything different from what a lot of us would do in terms of gravitating towards someone that is more in line with what they are used to dating. But I think the way that it was done wasn't respectful, and JJ admitted to that, and so did Ella, and they both apologized. And I think that's the thing as well. It's like, we're all human, we all make mistakes. Upon reflection, we all would have done things a bit of a different way, with certain situations. They took ownership of that, and I respect them for that.
Yeah, I love that. How do you manage to stay unbiased when you're giving out your advice to the couples? Like if we were to look at Erica and Jordan, for example, that whole scandal of him cheating or kissing another girl. If you've not watched the last season, that's on you. Spoilers. We didn't know, obviously, if that was true, if that was not, but there was some receipts there. But how do you, as an expert, stay kind of unbiased and not, Jordan, you're really bad for doing that. Erica, I'm team you. Like, how do you manage to kind of stay that Switzerland?
think the thing is like Paul, Mel and I, we are human, right?
Yeah.
And we've all had experiences in life that will alter the way that we see certain things. Now, obviously, myself as a woman, hearing anything with regards to man cheating is going to be triggering, right? Where I'm just like, there's that part of me that's like, get rid of him, he's cheated. Like that's, because that's kind of the go-to, right? Like you deserve better than that, etc. But I think the therapist in me is like, okay, let's look at what this really is or what this was. Let's hear Jordan out. Let's hear what he has to say. Is there space here to forgive him? Did he make a mistake? Because I think what was really clear in those moments was that Jordan was very much into Erica.
Yeah. Definitely.
You could see how, and Erica was very much into Jordan.
Yeah.
So you could see how much that was important for them to be together. And yeah, it sounded like Jordan had made a bit of a mistake and there was a bit of misunderstanding, maybe some alcohol involved as well.
Yeah.
It was hard to get to the bottom of what really happened there, I think. But they managed to get past it, which was good.
And I think that just to kind of touch on one of the things that I thought I did like about the season as well, which hooked me, was the raw emotion that they showed Jordan, because it seemed like Jordan had like, I don't want to say what it is because I don't know, but he definitely has like some trauma there that he mentioned on and stuff. And I thought it was really good that they showed that side of like the raw emotion side. And can I ask, like, is that all real? Those conversations, those tears, those emotions?
Oh gosh, yeah. It's funny actually. I feel like
it's always the stigma, isn't it, with reality? That's what everyone always questions.
Yeah.
Is it real? Is it not? Is it real, Charlene?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like if you think about it, like our face expressions, like I'm not that much of a good actress. I mean, everyone knows that what I think is on my face.
Yeah. You can see that with you. Especially when you're disappointed. Yeah.
So there's no way I can act.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, I think it was a couple of years ago, we had Kwame.
Right.
Kwame.
Infamous Kwame.
Kwame was funny. He was like, I remember one time he said, so yeah, me and Keisha, we're good now. We don't really need you guys anymore. Like, we're good. So I'm never lost for words, like never. But I was like, you don't need us anymore? Because even like couples that have been together for years, if there's an opportunity to have therapists that can help you, usually they will be like, yeah, of course we're open to that. We're open to feedback. So that was really, really funny. But I also understand that sometimes people just don't need us anymore. And that's also fine. Although I do see it as a bit of a red flag. And my face said it.
I mean, the debate on whether Kwame's a walking red flag or not is still yet to be had. And sexual chemistry between the couples because we're going to move on to the new season in a minute, because I feel like the last season was great. We loved it. But I want to ask about the sexual chemistry between the couples. Who did you think out of last season had the best the strongest, I'm going to say, sexual chemistry?
So, I'm not sure if I should say this now that they've broken up. They probably wouldn't want me to say this, but I think Can I pass on that one?
Can I say my one there?
Who did you think?
Brad and Shona.
Okay.
They are toxic. That whole thing I thought was toxic.
Yeah.
But the sexual chemistry?
Yeah.
I thought they had very intense sexual chemistry.
Yeah. I think
too.
there was so much about that relationship that goes against what a healthy relationship should be.
Right.
I think.
And this is why I need Charlene, because I thought that I initially was like, yes, them two for the win.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there were just certain behaviours that we became privy to that made it clear that actually this wasn't a healthy setup. So, and to talk about sex, like in order to have the best sex ever, you need to feel safe, you need to trust your partner, it needs to feel and be healthy in order for you to really let go and enjoy, etc. So for me, I would probably choose another couple, which I'm probably not going to say right now.
Because they're no longer
because they're not together anymore.
A lot of them are broken up. That surprised me. Matt and Shona, Adrian and Matt, and then them not working out on Shona. Do these sort of things really surprise you guys as the experts when you see what happens after you've wrapped the shows live? What happens?
So do you mean once we finish completely filming?
Yeah, once it's completely filmed and it's out.
Yeah.
Not just wrapping, but when it's actually out and you've all watched it, and then you see things like Matt leave it, Matt and Adrian not working out, and then him and Shona. Does that What happened?
Yeah, but you know what? I think this is just real life, isn't it?
Right.
You know, like there are situations where if everyone is single in the room, you know, you can match people together. After the experiment's over, you know, one person might realise they have more of a connection with someone else. We're here for love. So like seeing Matt and Shona on social media and seeing the love they have for one another is beautiful to watch. I mean, I wish I had matched them because, you know, I feel like that's such a success story for them, you know?
Oh.
They're two really lovely people.
And do you keep in contact with the cast members and things when you...
Some of them. So I think some don't want anything really to do with TV anymore. Not just, I think just TV.
Yeah.
They're just like, I want to get back to my normal life.
And it gets like that. It's not for everyone, is it?
It's not. And I think sometimes people have different expectations of what being on TV will be. And sometimes people are like, okay, I've done this for a few months now. I want to get back to my normal life. And I respect that. There are some people that I'm in contact with. So Shanita was one of the hosts for my book launch.
Yes, which we are going to go into.
Yes. So that was really lovely. That was nice. Peggy and George, and I'm in contact with them as well.
Peggy and
no, they're not together anymore.
Oh, wow.
No.
Did anyone last from last season?
So last season we have Tasha and Paul.
Are they still together?
Yes.
Are they the only couple still together?
Yes.
Wow.
But just to say, because I know people sort of base success of Married at First Sight based on whether they're still together or not.
Right.
What I would say is that I think everyone that goes on Married at First Sight will always say that they've learned a lot about themselves with regards to relationships. So when they go on to new relationships, they do it in a different way. They choose people, you know, in a more healthy way. They know how to talk about sex and intimacy in a better way. Like they go into it as a different person. So for us, that's success.
Yeah, that is success. Hey guys, it's your girl Nai here. Thanks so much for listening to episode 8 of the Tears and Laughter podcast. What are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments and make sure to send this to a friend. Get them involved. Because this interview is over an hour long, shock, I've decided to split into 2 parts. So part 2 of this interview with Charlene will be out in a few weeks' time for episode 9. In the meantime, you can catch up on all of the previous episodes of the Tears and Laughter podcast by scrolling down on the app that you're listening to right now or heading over to our YouTube page at Tears and Laughter Pod. You can follow us on all social media and keep up to date with us at Tears and Laughter Pod, all one word. Make sure to subscribe and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye.